From fan service to narrative control, Jungkook's Soundcheck decision sparks US media curiosity. Was this really just a gift for fans? Or was something far more calculated unfolding quietly behind the scenes? When BTS announced an exclusive Soundcheck event during their upcoming BTS World Tour, Arirang in Japan, the initial reaction from fans was pure disbelief. Photography allowed at a Japanese Soundcheck? Participation without a concert ticket? 2,000 fans chosen by lottery inside Tokyo Dome, one of the most symbolically charged venues in the music industry? On the surface, it looked like unprecedented generosity. But as the excitement rippled across ARMY timelines worldwide, a different question began to surface, first whispered among analysts, then echoed by international media, and now openly debated in US pop culture circles. Was this moment really about fan service, or was BTS, with Jungkook at the center, quietly tightening its grip on the global narrative? The announcement, released via the official X account at BTS_JP_official, confirmed that the Soundcheck would take place on April 17th and 18th, 2026 at Tokyo Dome. Registration opened immediately through Wever Shop and Universal Music Store, with the first round closing on February 1st. The language of the post was celebratory, even playful, punctuated with emojis and hashtags like #BTS_Arirang and #BTS_World Tour_Arirang_Japan. Yet the details embedded within the announcement were anything but ordinary. Fans could attend without holding a concert ticket, and more shockingly, photography was explicitly permitted in Japan, where copyright laws are famously strict and concert photography is almost universally banned. This clause landed like an earthquake. ARMY reactions were instant and emotional. "I never thought I'd see the words photography and allowed in the same sentence for a Japanese BTS event," one fan wrote, a sentiment echoed thousands of times across reposts and quote tweets. Others asked the obvious question: why now?
Why Japan?
And why Jungkook? Because make no mistake, while this is a BTS event, global coverage has already framed it around one name, Jungkook. But in Western media, Jungkook is no longer simply the youngest member of BTS. He is, increasingly, the most recognizable Korean pop figure to mainstream American audiences. His solo work has charted aggressively, his face dominates luxury brand campaigns, and his name consistently trends beyond K-pop-specific spaces. When US entertainment outlets discuss BTS's post-military era strategy, Jungkook is often positioned as the bridge, the familiar face that eases Western audiences back into the BTS universe. When news broke that a Jungkook-led Soundcheck moment in Japan would generate legal, high-quality fan-shot images and videos, content historically impossible to obtain, media analysts took notice. American pop culture commentary sites began floating a provocative idea. This wasn't just access, it was optics. Soundchecks have always been intimate spaces, moments where idols appear less choreographed, more human. Allowing cameras into that space doesn't just create content, it shapes perception. It tells a story of openness, trust, and proximity. And in an era where parasocial connection drives global fandom economics, controlling how that intimacy is documented can be as powerful as any official press release. Here's where the narrative deepens. Unlike concerts, which are tightly edited and professionally filmed, fan-taken photos and clips carry an aura of authenticity. They feel real, spontaneous, unfiltered, even when they're happening within carefully defined boundaries. By permitting photography during the Soundcheck, BTS effectively authorizes a new kind of storytelling, one where fans become distributors of a semi-controlled but emotionally potent narrative, and Jungkook, with his global appeal, becomes the focal lens through which that narrative travels. Several US-based entertainment writers have already drawn parallels to Western pop strategies, comparing the move to Taylor Swift's controlled fan interactions or Beyoncé's selective behind-the-scenes access. The difference, they note, is scale. BTS isn't testing this strategy in Los Angeles or New York, but in Japan, a market known for its conservatism around artist image rights. That contrast alone amplifies the shock value, making the story irresistible to international media. Why Japan? Why now? Some industry observers suggest that Japan serves as the perfect, controlled experiment. The fandom is massive, disciplined, and deeply respectful of rules. If photography is allowed there without chaos, it sends a powerful message to the rest of the world. BTS can loosen restrictions without losing control. Others argue that the location is symbolic. Tokyo Dome has long been a proving ground for global artists. By rewriting the rules inside that venue, BTS isn't just hosting an event, they're signaling a shift in power dynamics between artist, industry, and audience. But the most controversial interpretation centers on narrative control. For years, BTS has been the subject of narratives shaped by external forces, Western media framing, industry skepticism, geopolitical commentary, even military discourse. As they enter a new chapter post-solo projects, the group appears increasingly intentional about reclaiming authorship over their story. And what better way to do that than by flooding the internet with images that reflect exactly how they want to be seen: relaxed, confident, global, untouchable. Jungkook's presence amplifies that effect. In many ways, he is already the visual shorthand for BTS in the West. A single candid photo of Jungkook smiling during soundcheck, taken by a fan and shared organically, can travel faster and hit harder than 1,000 official statements. It humanizes without destabilizing. It connects without overexposing. Is that accidental? Fans themselves are divided. Some insist this is simply BTS giving back, rewarding loyalty after years of waiting, enlistments, and solo eras. Others admit they feel something bigger at play. This feels like a soft power move, one fan wrote. Not in a bad way, just intentional. That word keeps coming up. Intentional. Even the lottery system reinforces that idea. Limiting access to 2,000 fans creates scarcity, which in turn heightens value. Every photo taken becomes precious. Every clip becomes a talking point. And because not everyone can attend, those who do become unofficial ambassadors, spreading the experience across platforms in real time. From a media perspective, it's brilliant. From a fan perspective, it's intoxicating. From a critical perspective, it raises questions that is this the future of K-pop's relationship with its audience? A hybrid model where fan-generated content is encouraged, but only within carefully curated moments? Is BTS, long celebrated for breaking industry norms, now writing a new rulebook entirely? And what happens next? US outlets are already watching closely. If the Tokyo Soundcheck generates the kind of viral, positive coverage analysts predict, similar strategies could appear elsewhere on the Arirang tour. That possibility alone has shifted the conversation from special event to strategic blueprint. Still, amid all the theories and think pieces, one truth remains undeniable. BTS knows how to command attention. Not by shouting, but by subtly bending expectations. Not by oversharing, but by choosing exactly when and how to open the door. As armies rush to register before the deadline, hearts pounding with hope, another question lingers in the background, unspoken but persistent. When the cameras lift during that soundcheck and Jungkook steps onto the Tokyo Dome stage, who will really be telling the story? The fans behind the lens, or the group that decided it was finally time to let them see? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, if this is only the soundcheck, what does BTS have planned for the main show? The world is watching. And this time, BTS seems perfectly aware of it, and that awareness may be the most important clue of all, because if this were merely about generosity, BTS could have chosen an easier path. They could have offered exclusive merchandise, a short greeting video, or a closed-door rehearsal with no cameras allowed. Instead, they selected the one option guaranteed to spark conversation far beyond fandom circles. They opened a traditionally sealed space in one of the strictest markets in the world and placed Jungkook, arguably the most globally legible face of BTS, at the center of it. That choice alone reframes everything. In the hours following the announcement, the story quietly crossed borders. What began as fan excitement in Japan quickly evolved into a topic of discussion on English-language forums, entertainment newsletters, and US-based pop culture commentary channels. The phrasing began to shift. Headlines stopped emphasizing exclusive fan event and started leaning toward unusual move, rare permission, and strategic departure. The tone was no longer just celebratory. It was curious, analytical, alert. Why would BTS loosen one of the industry's tightest controls now, after years of maintaining near-mythical discipline over their image? To understand why this moment feels different, one has to look backward as much as forward. For more than a decade, BTS has been defined by a paradox. They are one of the most documented artists in modern music history, yet some of their most meaningful moments have remained inaccessible. Japanese concerts, in particular, have long existed as almost sacred spaces, experienced only by those physically present, rarely leaked, never casually recorded. That scarcity built mystique, but it also limited how those moments lived on in global memory. This soundcheck breaks that pattern. And not subtly, by allowing photography, BTS isn't just changing a rule. They're changing how memory is produced and circulated. Fan-taken images carry emotional weight because they feel personal, but they also function as social proof. They say, "I was there. This happened. This is real." When those images feature Jungkook, laughing, focused, unguarded, they become more than souvenirs. They become narrative artifacts. This is where US media interest intensifies, and the American entertainment ecosystem. Narrative control is currency. Stars rise and fall not only on talent, but on how consistently and convincingly their story is told. For years, Western outlets have struggled to frame BTS within familiar pop archetypes. Too big to ignore, too complex to simplify. Now, with this move, BTS appears to be offering a new entry point, one that doesn't rely on interviews or translations, but on visuals that speak instantly. A Jungkook Soundcheck photo doesn't need context. It doesn't need subtitles. It doesn't need explanation. It simply needs to exist. Some analysts have gone further, suggesting that this is less about Japan and more about preparation. Preparation for a renewed global push. Preparation for a post-hiatus era where BTS is no longer introduced as a phenomenon, but reasserted as a presence. In that scenario, the soundcheck becomes a soft launch, a test of how controlled openness can reshape public perception without diluting brand integrity. And again, Jungkook's role is impossible to ignore. In the West, he occupies a unique position. He is familiar without being overexposed, accessible without being ordinary. His solo success has already trained casual listeners to recognize his voice, his face, his name. By centering moments like this around him, BTS may be leveraging that recognition not to elevate one member above the group, but to re-anchor the group itself in global consciousness. Is that cynical? Or simply smart? Fans, predictably, are split between emotion and analysis. Many reject the idea that something so joyful could also be strategic. Others embrace the duality. Both can be true, one fan wrote. They can love us and still be brilliant at what they do. That sentiment may be closer to the truth than any extreme interpretation, because BTS has never been an accidental success. Every era, every shift, every pause has carried intention. The difference now is transparency. By letting fans document an otherwise hidden moment, BTS isn't surrendering control, they're redistributing it, selectively. They decide the setting, the timing, the rules, the scale. What feels free is still framed, and framing is everything. As the registration deadline approaches, anticipation continues to build. Fans imagine what those moments might look like. Will Jungkook joke with the crowd? Will there be unscripted laughter? A glance? A wave? A fragment of choreography caught mid-rehearsal? Each possibility fuels the same underlying hunger, not just to see BTS, but to witness something unrehearsed, something real. That desire is universal. And BTS knows it. What happens after April may determine whether this moment becomes a footnote or a turning point. If images from the soundcheck flood timelines without backlash, without controversy, without chaos, it could redefine how K-pop interacts with global audiences. If Western media continues to frame the move as deliberate, even visionary, it could mark a shift in how BTS is discussed, not as a group reacting to trends, but as one setting them. And if the story continues to center Jungkook, questions will only grow louder. Is he the gateway? The signal? The face of a new chapter designed to speak fluently to the West without losing the core that made BTS untouchable in the first place. For now, nothing is confirmed. BTS has offered no explanation beyond the announcement itself.
No interviews, no justifications, no denials.
Just an invitation, quietly radical in its simplicity. Come watch us rehearse. Bring your camera. An industry built on spectacle. That restraint may be the boldest move of all. And so the question lingers, unresolved and irresistible. When fans raise their phones inside Tokyo Dome, capturing a moment once meant to disappear the second it ended, will they be witnessing generosity or participating in the most carefully written chapter of BTS's global story yet? The answer may not come